5 benefits of having a covered deck. Well, 5 of them are going to be the obvious ones. You've got sun protection. You're going to be shielded from the sun and have shade underneath a covered deck. You're also going to have precipitation protection from the rain or the snow. A covered deck can also shield you from your neighbors, give you a little more privacy, especially if they're kind of uphill from you. It makes you a little less visible to them. They can also make the deck or the area feel more like an extension of the house, especially at night. You know, you can put fans and lights in them overhead where you can't do that with an uncovered deck. A covered deck greatly increases the time frame which you can use that deck. It's gonna give you protection from a lot of the elements. It's also gonna give you a place you could put infrared heaters, so it's gonna have better heat entrapment than an uncovered deck. And it's gonna feel more like an intimate area, more like a nighttime sitting area. You could put lights in it, a fan to stay cooler in the summertime. So it's got a lot more functionality to it than an uncovered deck. Most of the covered decks we build here in Kansas City are gonna have composition shingles on them. Most of these jurisdictions require roof coverings, additional roof coverings, screen porches, covered decks to have the same exact roof covering that house has. So it's got to be the same shingle brand, style, color that matches the house. Some will allow you to put other types, like if you wanted to put a metal roof on top that flows well with your composition shingle, you could do that as well. I mean, metal roofs tend to be a little noisier when it's raining and hailing, so something to think about. If you're going to do that, you might want to put an extra layer of sheeting or insulation in between the metal and the roof structure itself. You can also put terracotta tile roofs on. You could put stone coated steel shingles on. You could put concrete tiles on there if your house, has that sort of roofing system on there. But when you use those alternative types of roofing, you need to be aware of the pitch of the roof. Some of those can't be installed on too steep of roofs, and some can't be installed on too shallow pitched of roofs. And terracotta, stone coated steel, and concrete tile roofs all weigh more too. So the engineering comes into play. You need to make sure that structure is engineered to carry that additional weight. If you were to ask me if a covered deck, what the return on investment of a covered deck versus an uncovered deck were, if you were to ask me that 20 years ago, I would tell you that an uncovered deck has a much better return on investment than a covered deck. But that has changed dramatically. When the housing market crashed in 2008, 2009, we saw a huge increase in people staying in their homes longer. People were no longer flipping their house every 3 to 5 years to build up equity. They stayed in their house longer. So we went from probably 15 to 20 covered decks and screen porches went from probably 15 to 20% of our business to about 50% of our business. And then when COVID happens, we saw a bigger increase in the demand for covered decks. And so now 75 to 80% of our business and our demand, the calls that we get, are for covered decks and screen porches. Almost every home in Kansas City is built brand new with a covered deck or a screen porch. So that tells you where the market's at. That tells you what most people are wanting in this area. And that a lot of that plays into Kansas City is a sprawling suburban area, and most of our developments are built in areas without mature trees. It's not like downtown Overland Park, Prairie Village, Mission. We're going far out southern Leawood and Olathe areas where there's not a lot of mature trees. So, and we do have some brutal western sun and some pretty harsh winters. So those covered decks are much more sought after in our area, I think, than most other areas of the country.